Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Hi, welcome. My name is Ringma,
I'm Frits Ringma.
and we're going to be sharing today about Agnihotra. I'll be using a PowerPoint mainly, and you can ask questions while the PowerPoint's going on chat, and Rory will answer. At the end of the PowerPoint, we'll open it up to verbal Q&A. And during the PowerPoint, there'll be a video where Frits will be demonstrating how to perform Agnihotra. The PowerPoint's quite long and detailed, but I'll try to be as precise and unwordy as possible, so it's not overwhelming. The objective is this workshop was inspired by Agnihotra Body Chat. And there's a lot of people on that chat who are doing Agnihotra but have many questions. So in order to help people understand the basics of Agnihotra and all the applications, the various applications and wonderful results, we're going to do these basic workshops every now and then, maybe every 2 months, which will hopefully answer your questions and help you to be more confident in your Agnihotra practice, and also utilize Agnihotra and its ash medicine in its many wondrous ways for the healing of your own body and mind, your family, your home, your land, and if you're farmers, your farmland. So there's so many wonderful ways of benefiting from Agnihotra, and we'd like you to know about them all. So we'll go into share screen now, and we'll start the PowerPoint. So Agnihotra, that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's under the umbrella of Homa therapy, and Homa means healing fire. Agnihotra is the main healing fire and has been given out to the whole of humanity to help us with the polluted conditions that we're living on. You can see the logo there, Homotherapy. So that's the official logo for certified homotherapy teachers. And below is our Australian website. So Agnihotra, many people call it a Hindu ritual or a religious practice, but actually it's a Vedic super science. It's not it can be utilized as a religious practice, meaning it can benefit your aspirations in knowing the inner self, the higher self. But basically, Agnihotra has been a lost Vedic science, and it's been revived for these times to deal with the pollution on our planet and to allow us to live in a healthy biosphere where the air is fresh, the water is clean, the soil is able to grow healthy organic food, and the prana, the life force, is in perfect balance, and so we live in a peaceful atmosphere. This is a Vedic science. Agnihotra impacts the environment physically and energetically, and we are part of that environment, so it benefits us as well. So why is Agnihotra so important now? Why is there a great movement happening on the planet where people are taking up Agnihotra all over in every country of the world? And thank God for that. And I'll explain why it's so important now, so critical that as many people as possible take up Agnihotra. On a healthy planet, which is not the case on this planet, nature is purified and rejuvenated and nourished every day by the life-sustaining energies that flood in at sunrise. And on a healthy planet, these beautiful energies of sunrise that bring in prana and all life-sustaining energies, all micronutrients required for nature to function, these energies must pass through an atmosphere, the planet's atmosphere. Now, if the atmosphere is healthy, then those energies arrive to fulfill their function in rejuvenating, purifying, and nourishing nature. But the case is now on a polluted planet that this flood, called sunrise, passes through a carpet of pollution, depleting and distorting along the way. So the very mechanism for daily planetary rejuvenation is greatly hampered. But Agnihotra addresses this. So when we as individuals take the responsibility for giving back to nature and perform Agnihotra, we create a channel in the atmosphere, reaching up 12 kilometers up into the stratosphere, enabling the life-sustaining energies to flood in their integrity, in their completeness, in their healing, enlivening energy. So that's why we need to do Agnihotra, because the planet is polluted, the atmosphere is polluted, and the very mechanism for healing our planet on a daily basis and rejuvenating nature on a daily basis is hampered, hindered greatly. So basically, Agnihotra floods the local environment with pranic energy, and this enables nature, the natural intelligence of nature, to detoxify and rejuvenate. And then the ash, the resultant ash from the Agnihotra fire, is a potent medicine. It can be used on the land, in water, and it can be used in our bodies and as ointment. And that ash, Agnihotra ash, is imbued with the pranic energy that floods in at sunrise. So we have a panacea in that ash. As I said, Agnihotra is happening all over the world now. This is a picture in Germany. And look at all the people doing Agnihotra. It's really a great movement now. So this was explaining, this is a pictorial presentation of how Agnihotra works, what happens. So the copper pyramid is a receiver of the energies that come in at sunrise and depart at sunset. It creates when we perform Agnihotra by lighting the fire and saying the mantra and making the offering, then this conduit is created. And in comes this pristine life-sustaining energies, and the pyramid is a broadcaster, the fire is a generator, and it boosts that energy out into the environment. And it impacts the water resources, the atmosphere, the soil, and all living creatures, plants, animals, human beings. Agnihotra gives nutrition to all of life, plants, animals, and humans, and all the subtle energies that are required. The whole spectrum of the whole electromagnetic spectrum and beyond that we know about. Everything comes in at this special moment. So when you bring in this pristine prana that imbues the whole environment, then automatically you feel great relief. So the people performing Agnihotra feel relief. There's stress reduction. You can feel stress just dissolving in a couple of minutes as soon as you do Agnihotra. That beautiful energy undoes the effects of pollution in the atmosphere. The basic, the area it covers is about 12 kilometers up and about a kilometer diameter, and we call that a homobiosphere, where the benefits can be witnessed and experienced. this beautiful flood of prana and all life-sustaining energies balances the environment. And thus it's a great assistance to organic gardening and farming. It's been experienced as neutralizing harmful radiation. Example, radioactivity. There's been a scientific demonstration that it neutralizes radioactivity, Agnihotra and the ash. And even EMF distortion, which we're surrounded with in modern life. When you perform Agnihotra regularly, people experience that the EMF distortion, the harmful EMF, is greatly reduced. Then you have the resultant ash, which is healing for the land and for ourselves. For meditators, you'll find that performing Agnihotra facilitates meditation beautifully and very quickly. And for non-meditators, suddenly they find themselves meditating. So many people report it brings harmony to the home. And when they come onto the land or come into the area, because as I said, it's about 1 kilometer diameter, the effect, people feel the peace. So who can perform Agnihotra? Well, there's absolutely no restrictions. All people, regardless of sex, age, race, religion, nationality, or beliefs, everyone can perform Agnihotra. It's universal knowledge. It's a universal tool gifted to the whole planet for these times. Now, in order to have the results, you need to be precise with your materials and with the practice itself. So we're going to go through the various aspects of Agnihotra that you need to integrate and understand. So the copper pyramid is of a fixed size and shape. So you can see a photo there on the left. There's 3 steps. It's 100% copper. It's a special size for Agnihotra. So it cannot be a bigger pyramid to get bigger results. It doesn't work like that. It has to be of a particular size. No soldering, no rings. You find many pyramids in India, Agnihotra kunds, and they often have rings or soldering, and they're not suitable. And also they may be the incorrect size and proportion. They're not suitable for this Agnihotra. And if you want the results, you need the correct size pyramid. It can only be dried cow dung for burning in the fire, cow's ghee, and brown rice. No other additives, no camphor, no herbs, no sticks of special woods. For Agnihotra, it must be dried cow dung, cow's ghee, and brown rice. And the Sanskrit mantra is very precise. You cannot add an om to it or any other mantras. It must be the mantra as given. And then the timing is exact to the second of sunrise and sunset. And this is facilitated now by Agnihotra Body app, but also homotherapy centers. If you email them, they'll send you out timings, a hard copy. So explain that. Specific size, specific shape. The pyramid shape contributes to the effect. I remember Sri Vasanto, Agnihotra teacher, telling us that the healing goes out into the atmosphere in the shape of the pyramid. So it's actually like a yantra. And all these yantras, multitudes of yantras in the shape of the pyramid are being sent out. So the specific material can be copper or gold. Again, no soldering, no holes, no rings. So copper has very special properties. One of them is antimicrobial. And just like gold, copper and gold are related to the energy of the sun. So the correct size pyramid produces the desired effect. So you need the correct size pyramid. And for that, it's best to obtain an equipment from a homotherapy center. And we'll mention those homotherapy centers around the world at the end of this PowerPoint. I'm going to now show you a video with my husband, Frits Ringma, performing Agnihotra, or demonstrating how to perform Agnihotra.
I'd like to share with you today an instruction video of how to build and light an Agnihotra fire. The Agnihotra fire is built in a copper pyramid. The copper pyramid is made out of one piece, has 3 steps and no attachments of rings or things like that. Ties, and the shape is also specific. The implements we use for this Agnihotra process are all made of copper rice dish, tongs and spoon. No other metals should be used, or plastic. Then the ingredients we use in this Agnihotra fire is dried cow dung of any species of cow, with hump or without hump, calf, heifer or bull. We have whole grain rice and pure cow's ghee. The timing for this Agnihotra process is very specific. So we can either have, you can request at any homotherapy center around the world the timetable, or now we have an app for mobile phone, for iPhone or Android. The timing is exact to the second. So when the timing arrives of sunrise or sunset, that is the time when we start to speak the mantra. There's 2 swahas in this mantra, at sunrise and at sunset, and at that time we make the offering of rice and ghee into the fire. I'll show you now how to build the fire in this copper pyramid and how to light it. The bottom of the pyramid needs to be covered with cow dung. So you can either braise a pig to cover the bottom, or you can put some crumbs in. It's important to build a fire in the pyramid that allows enough airflow. If you put the pieces of cow dung so up against the wall of the pyramid, no airflow is possible, and most likely you will get a very smoky fire and not a hot burning fire. So the way around it is you can break off strips of cow dung and make sure that the cow dung you use is cracking dry. If there's moisture in the cow dung, it's difficult to light, and often you get a very smoky fire. So these strips we can lay across the corners of the pyramids, like so. Airflow is possible down under into the pyramid. So I'm only using 4 strips of cow dung, and then I've broken off a piece which is going to be my lighter piece, and it is narrow at the bottom and it is fairly thin. About 5 or 6 minutes before Agnihotra time, I apply a little ghee to this starter piece, and about 4 minutes before Agnihotra time, I will light the starter piece. We do not use any other mediums to light the fire. We only use dried cow dung and cow's ghee, no camphor, no wicks soaked in ghee, just this piece of cow dung, and we light it outside of the pyramid. And while I'm lighting it, I'll just turn this piece around. You can light it with a matchstick, or you can light a beeswax candle and light it on that. And once the piece is burning, then you can snuff out the candle. So keep turning it and keep it a bit under an angle so it will catch fire all the way around. Then I insert it in the middle of the stack, and it will, if the coating is nice and dry, it will catch on really well. So I'm just going to melt some ghee from the copper spoon on this starter piece, and I do that because it will keep the starter piece alight from the bottom. If you don't do it and the flame creeps up to the top, it will not light the other pieces of coating properly, and sometimes the fire even can go out. So the fire will take care of itself. I add a couple of bits of rice grains in this dish, and we're going to take the broken pieces out. We only want to offer whole and complete grains of rice. So that's sufficient. You want roughly about 2 pinches there, as there are 2 offerings in this Agnihotra fire. So I melt a bit of ghee and add it to the rice in this copper dish, and smear all the grains with a bit of ghee. Divide it into 2 portions, as there's going to be 2 offerings straight after the word Swaha. The Agnihotra mantra is specific. It is at sunrise and sunset. The melody is the same. The first line is slightly different. So I'll sing both mantras for you. We'll start with singing the Agnihotra mantra for sunset. So I'll go through the motion. This is not Agnihotra time. This is just for demonstration purpose. So we only make offering with the right hand, always with the right hand, not with the left hand, even if we are left-handed. This is for energetic purposes. So the mantra for sunset is Agnaye Swaha, first offering. Agnaye Idana Mama Prajapataye Swaha, second offering. Prajapataye Idana Mama. That completes Agnihotra, the Agnihotra process. At sunrise, it is exactly the same, but you would say Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idana Mama, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idana Mama. And then, why I did it at a demonstration time other than sunrise or sunset is because when we do the Agnihotra process, we do not talk around the pyramid, and especially once the mantra is spoken, we just be in silence. So thank you for watching. I hope it is helpful. You can find a lot of good information. Look for homeotherapy if you want to have more information on Agnihotra. Our Agnihotra website is www.agnihotra.com.au.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that demonstration, trying to cover all the various details. This is a picture, by the way, of an unsuitable pyramid, just to give you an idea. When we talked about soldering, you see there's rivets in there, and there's a ring, and there's also only 2 steps wrong size, and it's not 100% copper. So definitely unsuitable pyramid. Just as an example. So dried cow dung is another necessity. In India, there's a lot of buffaloes in the dairy, so you must be sure that you're collecting cow dung and not buffalo dung, for example. If you're making your own drying your own cow dung. The cow dung can be from a male or a female or a calf, and from any breed of cow. It doesn't have to be a Brahman cow. There is some understanding in India that that's the case, but that's simply the ideal. It is not a necessity. Preferably from cows treated organically. And the cow manure is a special substance. It's antiseptic, actually. It's clean. And it's even used in folk medicine all over the world. Now, there's no other manure of any animal that is the case, that it is antiseptic and can be used as folk medicine. In one of the world wars, perhaps World War I, when they had run out of medicine and there were gangrenous wounds, it was knowledge in Europe to use fresh cow dung as a poultice, and that would draw out the gangrene and heal the wound. That's how clean it is. And then, of course, you find many traditional homes built out of cow dung floors, cow dung walls, and in mud bricks in the West, they use cow dung. So it's a clean substance. It inhibits growth of certain bacteria, and it has protective properties regarding harmful radiation. They found during Chernobyl, when they checked out places for radioactivity, traditional homes that were made out of cow dung floor and walls had no radioactivity inside them. And there you go, there's the protective properties. We've also found that if you place your iPhone on top of a dried cow dung piece and you have an EMF meter, it will go down to zero, the EMF field, just through the presence of the cow dung. Has to be cow dung, not buffalo dung. Has to be pure cow's ghee. So ghee is clarified unsalted butter. So if you're making it, you have to make it from unsalted butter. You cannot use buffalo ghee or coconut oil. Some vegans would want to use coconut oil, but you won't have the effects. Our Agnihotra teacher has said that if you change the process in any way, if you use different ingredients like coconut oil, for example, can actually have, or buffalo ghee, it can actually have a negative impact on the atmosphere. So you have to really source your ghee carefully. So just like in Ayurveda, ghee is used to conduct medicinal properties from into the body. So again, ghee in Agnihotra it goes out in all these microparticles out in the smoke, conducting the beautiful energy that's been harvested at Agnihotra time and all the beautiful micronutrients that pour in. And so ghee is part of the phenomena of healing the environment because it goes out in the ghee particles. In the case of Agnihotra, you might notice that sometimes, in the case of ghee, you might notice that sometimes it goes white. That's not suitable for Agnihotra. Best to use fresh ghee. Again, ensure that it's obtained from a dairy that only has cows, not mixed with buffaloes and goats. Careful with commercial ghee. It may be adulterated, buffed up with other oils. So do your research. In Australia, we do know that we do recommend ghee from New Zealand, from grass-fed cows. That tends to be, even commercial ghee from New Zealand, it tends to be suitable for, it tends to be pure ghee and from grass-fed cows, and often there's even Desi cows Daisy Dairies in New Zealand. Whole grain rice is used in the fire, 2 pinches, as you saw in the video. Polished rice has less nutritional value, so that's why we say best brown rice and best organic rice, no chemicals involved. Only unbroken grains used for Agnihotra, so you remove the broken grains. You want viable rice. They say that rice has the perfect balance of yin and yang, and rice is part of the nutrition that is sent out into the atmosphere when the burning takes place. So mantras used for Agnihotra: sunrise, sunset. Notice that there's no Om added, there's no Gayatri added, and so on. These are many things that you might find in India when performing healing fire. But for Agnihotra, sunrise and sunset, for the results that you want to get, you do not add an Om, you do not add other mantras, and the mantra is said only once, and there is 2 offerings at the time, and they occur after the word Swaha. So just a bit of background, why Sanskrit? Well, Vedas are revealed knowledge given at the beginning of creation, the beginning of time, in Sanskrit. So the rishis could hear the Vedas in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is the vibration of the thing itself. It is the foundation of all languages. All languages contain Sanskrit, but Sanskrit borrows from no other language. It is the universal language. It is the resonance or the vibration of the thing itself that we're referring to. It's explained in the Vedas that sunrise and sunset mantras are the quintessential music of the energy of sunrise and sunset. So like attracts like. Agnihotra mantras are only effective in Sanskrit. Do not add or change the Agnihotra mantra. So the timing is done to the second. How do you find that? Well, as you know about Agnihotra body, so there's a GPS and it determines your longitude and latitude, and then there is a calculation for the exact time that the energies of sunrise pour in and depart from your property, from your longitude and latitude. So every 4 kilometers, the timings change. If the timing is missed, it is not Agnihotra, and the beneficial effects will not be conferred. So you need to perform Agnihotra to the second for the benefits. So there's often a confusion when people are looking at the sun rising at the horizon or setting at the horizon, and they want to do Agnihotra, for example, at the beach. And Agnihotra body is telling them to do Agnihotra, to say the mantra, when the sun appears to be still 1.5 discs above the horizon. And so we often get the question, well, is the Agnihotra body incorrect? Because definitely the sun is not half disk at the horizon, which is what we would expect for sunrise or sunset times. So the situation is that the sun's rays get refracted or bent in the atmosphere. So what we see when we see the sun as 1.5 discs above the horizon, that's actually an optical illusion, or it's due to the refraction in the atmosphere. And actually the sun is half disk at the horizon physically, but not visually. So follow your app, it is correct. Here is a beautiful description from Homotherapy, Our Last Chance by Sri Vasant Paranjapi, our Agnihotra teacher, describing sunrise. At sunrise, the many fires, electricities, ethers, and more subtle energies emanating from the sun extend all the way to the earth and produce a flood effect at those coordinates where the sun is said to rise. It is awesome. The flood enlivens and purifies everything in its wake. Sunset. At sunset, what naturally happens, the light departs, the warmth departs, and nature goes into a state of imbalance. And in the growth rate of some kinds of pathogenic bacteria increases. If somebody has a cold or a flu, they feel worse when the sun goes down. Alzheimer patients often show more confusion when the sun goes down. But if you perform Agnihotra regularly, and if you perform it at sunset as well as sunrise, sunset Agnihotra restores the balance or keeps the balance until morning Agnihotra. Hence the importance of, if you can within your lifestyle, to do it regularly, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. Because the healing energy of sunrise lasts till sunset. Then we perform sunset, and the healing energy of sunset lasts till the next sunrise. Of course, if you just do Agnihotra irregularly because of lifestyle, because of jobs, etc., taking children to school in the morning, whenever you do Agnihotra, that beautiful healing takes place. And you have the resultant ash as well. So no problem at all. But the best benefits, the ideal is to keep Agnihotra going regularly. Now here we go into a bit of the nitty-gritty, and I hope it's not too overwhelming. So points for best Agnihotra performance. I'll just basically read them out. If you can read it with me, then it will go in better. So if possible, shower and put on clean clothes before Agnihotra. If that's not possible, the minimum ablution, wash your face, hands, mouth, and remember to remove your shoes. Position the pyramid east-west. Light the starter piece of cow dung outside of the pyramid to avoid dropping the match into the pyramid, because a matchstick is toxic wood and you don't want that to be broadcast into the atmosphere. So light the starter piece of cow dung outside of the pyramid and then put it into the pyramid. Do not light the Agnihotra fire by using camphor inside the pyramid or using a fluid, gas, or electric lighter. Use a matchstick or a ghee lamp or a beeswax candle and light your starter piece from there. The reason being is that the fire takes on the subtle coloring, if you like, of what you light it with. So it's important not to light it with a cigarette lighter, for example. So the idea, the Agnihotra Body app will tell you exactly, will go ding and tell you exactly when to say the mantra, when to start saying the mantra. So prior to that, about 5 minutes prior, 3 to 5 minutes prior, you light the fire, because the objective is to have an optimal fire at the exact time when one says the mantra and makes the offering. At the exact time to the second, you start the mantra. Rice and ghee are to be offered with the right hand, even if you are left-handed, because right hand gives energy and left hand receives energy. This is why. And offerings are made after the word swaha, not on the word swaha, but straight after. Make only 2 offerings per Agnihotra. 1 motion per offering, no multiple offerings. That means shaking the rice off with your fingers, because that constitutes multiple swahas. So make just 1 motion and push the rice and ghee drop the rice and ghee into the fire with 1 motion. That constitutes 1 swaha. And then there is the second swaha. If some rice still remains on your rice dish or in your hand that did not go into the fire, discard that rice. Now, this is important because many people make the mistake that once they say the mantra and make the offering, if the fire's not going well, or they want to make the fire go better, they might blow into the fire, or they might rearrange the cow dung with the burning cow dung with their copper tongs. They may want to add more ghee, but absolutely do not do that. Once the mantras have been chanted and offerings given, do not add more ghee or cow dung, touch the pyramid, or disturb the fire in any way, even if the fire goes out prematurely. Because once you say the mantra and make the offering, that is the exact time when the energies pour in, and then Agnihotra is happening. The energy is happening. The fire is not just a fire now; it's an Agnihotra fire. It's a living fire, and there's a connection between the pyramid and the fire and the sun. The moment you say the mantra at the right time. And if you touch the pyramid, add more ghee, disturb the fire in any way, you break the connection between the sun and the pyramid, and the Agnihotra fire is disturbed. The only thing you can do is, if the fire is not going well, one can fan the fire. Do not blow into the fire ever, because you would be introducing bacteria from your mouth. You can fan the fire and mimic the wind. That's about all. And if it's a failed fire, so be it. When emptying out the ash or picking up the pyramid, the copper kund, only use your right hand. Store the Agnihotra ash in something natural, a natural material like glass, ceramic, copper, or a wooden container that is not varnished and not painted. The reason is that the ash will absorb stuff. So by putting them in these natural containers, that doesn't happen. So do not store Agnihotra ash in plastic or other metals such as stainless steel. Only copper is okay as a container for storing Agnihotra ash. Likewise, when you can charge your water with Agnihotra ash, but only do that in a glass, ceramic, or copper vessel. Do not store in plastic or stainless steel. Store the ghee in glass, and when you put your pyramid on something to stop the fire from burning, whatever you put your pyramid on, make sure it is not metal other than copper, or you can place the pyramid on a clay brick or a flat stone, but not on stainless steel or iron or any other metal. Best to face east for sunrise and sunset, and you can also face west if you want for evening Agnihotra. After you've used the tools, the copper tools, and they must be copper tools for Agnihotra, not stainless steel, After you've used them, then wipe the ghee off, because ghee left on the copper will oxidize and produce copper oxide. But cleaning, this does not apply to the pyramid. Do not clean the pyramid. The beautiful black lining is, leave that intact. It does not need to be cleaned. It's counterproductive to clean it off. Once you perform Agnihotra, it's best to leave the pyramid untouched and uncovered until it's time for the next Agnihotra, if possible. And if necessary, you may cover the pyramid with a copper lid after the flames go out, to protect it from insects and dust and so on. But it's best to leave it uncovered if possible until the next Agnihotra, because there's a secondary healing involved. The primary healing is when the flood comes in at sunrise, and the flood departs, and a balancing takes place in the atmosphere at sunset. That's the primary moment. As soon as the mantra is uttered, then this beautiful energy is created in the atmosphere. But there's also a secondary healing. Once you've done Agnihotra, if you leave that pyramid untouched, you don't bump it or anything like that, or remove the ash, it remains connected to the sun, and a stream of healing energy is coming in and emanating from that pyramid. So just sitting near the pyramid at a time when it's not Agnihotra, there's healing. There's healing in the atmosphere coming from that pyramid. So when not to perform Agnihotra, if you have a high fever, if you're just too sick, don't perform Agnihotra. If you are bleeding from a wound, you do not do Agnihotra. And when a woman's menstruating, she does not do Agnihotra. So now we'll go to the effects of Agnihotra. Well, firstly, what you'll notice when you start performing Agnihotra, that it helps your mind. And the reason being is that atmosphere, prana, and mind are connected. Agnihotra harmonizes the functioning of prana, which gives a push to the mind in the direction of love. That's beautiful, isn't it? Here's there was a medical test. So people were tested for anxiety before and after Agnihotra, and depression before and after Agnihotra. I think through, I'm not sure how they do it, but it's anyway, I'm not a doctor, but I can't tell you how it's done. But you can see that anxiety in red was high before Agnihotra, and in blue after Agnihotra, much less anxiety in all cases. Also with depression, high, and then green, much less after Agnihotra. So that's good news. Because it helps the mind, it's very good in drug de-addiction, and there has been many experiences of drug addicts, once they take up Agnihotra, finding that they can overcome their addictions. In Colombia, there was a live-in drug de-addiction center, and called the Phoenix Foundation. And normally after 1 year of drug de-addiction live-in program, there was very little change. But when our homotherapy colleagues, Abel and Aleta in South America, introduced 20 days of homotherapy at this Phoenix Foundation, that meant all the participants did sunrise and sunset Agnihotra, drunk water imbued with Agnihotra ash, and also performed another healing fire called Om Triambakam Homa as an addition, and worked in the garden for grounding. But after 20 days, so many wonderful results. Here is Carlos Andres' testimonial. He's 28. He was on cocaine almost every day for 13 years. He started when he was 15. He says with homotherapy, one feels at ease and lighter. Even though you know the addiction is harmful, you feel you cannot control it. But with homotherapy, I feel very calm. My anxiety is gone. And I don't feel the need to consume the drugs. So in other words, the addictive aspect is gone. We actually had a heroin addict come and stay on our farm many years ago. And the reason being is that he started doing Agnihotra and he lost all desire for drugs. And so he came to stay on the land for a while just to integrate that. But so there are many cases like this where, and even in homes where maybe there's someone who is addicted to alcohol or addicted to cigarettes or whatever, addicted to food, whatever addiction. People often find in a household where Agnihotra is performed regularly that these addictions just start to dissolve. Okay, we talked about helping the mind. Now we talk about helping the body. So when you perform Agnihotra, you have a healing atmosphere. So this is helpful for the body, of course. And the Agnihotra ash, the resultant ash, is very healing due to its high vibration and high pranic content. And you can take that ash throughout the day in water. It makes a great difference to your health if you take the ash regularly. Then you can make ointment by mixing the ash with ghee. And we have experienced tremendous pain reduction just with ash and ghee rubbing over a sore shoulder or over a sore kidney. Ash and ghee ointment often miraculously takes away pain and very fast. We've been using Agnihotra ash medicine and ointment for our whole family, including our 3 children who've grown up in Agnihotra atmosphere. And it was basically the main medicine, to take it internally as maintenance. And if they did succumb to an illness, to take more Agnihotra ash. And we rarely, I think once we resorted to antibiotics. We have 3 children and they were all were looked after by Agnihotra ash medicine and the Agnihotra atmosphere and drinking ash water. Now, if you want to make potent healing ash, it's best to do Agnihotra after a shower and put on clean clothes. So this is about drinking Agnihotra ash water. Of course, today, a lot of water, the water out of the tap has chemicals in it. So it's best to filter your water first if you can, and then put Agnihotra ash in the water. And it purifies, alkalizes, and vitalizes the water. It alkalizes it immediately. We did a test with bottled water, and it tested acidic. And as soon as we put the ash in, it became alkaline, which is very good for your health. Here's this is about blood pressure before and after Agnihotra. So basically, Agnihotra was shown to regulate blood pressure. If you had high blood pressure, like in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first readings on the left, you look to the right and it's normalizing 30 minutes after Agnihotra. And then the readings below, they're low blood pressure, and then you look to the right and they're normalizing 30 minutes after Agnihotra. So that's incredible, fast healing. This is amazing. So live blood analysis. A patient presented with headache, nausea, and restlessness. A drop of his blood was put under a dark field microscope, and you see the exhibit A, that is the red blood cells, and it's called sticky blood because the red blood cells are all clumping together, which means they're unable to freely transport oxygen and nutrients. And also you see, if you can read the blood, you will know that there are many unhealthy cells there. So if you hydrate the person, so 15 minutes after a glass of water, the blood hydrates, and it's more, the blood cells are more free flowing. There's still some stickiness, but still 75% of the cells are compromised, and that's, you see the bullseye inside the cell that indicates parasitized by microorganisms or lacking iron. But if you take ash water 15 minutes after drinking Agnihotra ash water, the cells are completely free-flowing, meaning totally hydrated, flowing well, and 90% are healthy cells. And the patient notes absence of the above symptoms. He's no more headache, no more nausea, no more restlessness. And that's in 15 minutes after Agnihotra ash water. So we have this wonderful healing panacea when we do Agnihotra, and we can share this ash with our friends, and they can have these wonderful healing results. And we can use this ash under sick trees. You can use it in nature as well. Another remarkable testimony from South America. This was a leprosy clinic, and wounds that did not heal for 30 years. For 30 years were healing, and the pain was decreasing or stopped, and emotional and mental state much improved when volunteers would visit and regularly perform Agnihotra and distribute the ash medicine and the ointment. So how amazing. Wounds that did not heal for 30 years started to heal. Some people think with smoke from the Agnihotra fire, that would not be good if you have asthma or lung problems. But actually, it's been demonstrated by all over the world that by performing Agnihotra, you can heal chronic asthma. Parvati Rosenbisberg from the Homotherapy Center in Poland, she had chronic asthma from the age of 11. And after 2 weeks of practicing Agnihotra, her asthma was gone. We also know a man in Malaysia whose helper in the house had TB, and the government wanted to deport her back to the Philippines. But he asked for a month. He said he would, and if she could be tested in a month for the TB. So for a month, he had this lady sit for Agnihotra sunrise and sunset, and her TB disappeared completely. Here's a disturbing photo of a young girl who for 8 years was in the condition on the left from a penicillin allergy. But after 2 months of Agnihotra atmosphere and Agnihotra ash ointment, she was healing up and getting her life back, despite the fact that 21 doctors were consulted with no cure prior to coming across Agnihotra and homotherapy. So we've looked at the mind, we looked at the body, now environment, Agnihotra and the environment. So tests have been done, many tests, and I'm just showing a couple. So this was particulate matter in the atmosphere, which shows a level of pollution, particles in the atmosphere. I think SOX is sulfur dioxide and NOx is, oh, I'm not sure. But anyway, they're chemicals that reflect pollution in the atmosphere, and then particles in the atmosphere, RSPM and SPM. So before Agnihotra, you see the readings up the top there. And then during Agnihotra, the readings drop. Straight after Agnihotra, the readings go up, and this is because of smoke. So it was reading the smoke particles. But 15 hours after Agnihotra, you see all readings have gone down. So particulate matter from 105 before Agnihotra, 15 hours after Agnihotra, 56. That's pretty major. Also, experiments have been done on Agnihotra and microbes. So both in the atmosphere, so with an agar plate, before Agnihotra, reading microbial count in the atmosphere, or in water, reading microbial count in water before Agnihotra. And then after Agnihotra, agar plate shows a great reduction in microbial count. And these experiments were done both on the atmosphere and in water. And this is remarkable. Agnihotra and radioactivity. So it says in the Vedas that Agnihotra will neutralize radioactivity. That's an incredible claim. But after Chernobyl, the radioactive accident in Chernobyl, which sent a radioactive cloud across the whole of Europe, there was a Homer farm in Austria in 1986. And the Austrian government tested all milk and fodder in Austria for radioactivity. On this Homer farm, the tests found that the milk and fodder was free of radioactive contamination, while all the surrounding farms had radioactive contamination. So you can see a Homer farm is where Agnihotras perform sunrise and sunset every day, and also another healing fire called Om Triambakam Homa. And there's ash application. There's some other things as well. But basically, even just Agnihotra ash, for example, a test was done after Fukushima. Rice was taken from Fukushima that was highly radioactive. It was divided into two and put in water. In one container with the rice, Agnihotra ash was added. And then these two containers of rice with water were tested for radioactivity. And after 10 days, the one with Agnihotra ash There was only background radioactivity. There was no radioactive contamination in the one with Agnihotra ash after 10 days. And then EMF distortion, harmful EMF. Well, this is on our farm. We have a farm, a Homa farm and centre called Om Shri Dham in Australia. This is our fire hut where we do Agnihotra regularly. And the arrow is pointing to a power transformer, a high voltage power transformer, which is just about 3 meters away from our fire hut. So we had a young man come with an EMF meter, and he knew about the high levels of harmful EMFs that would be registered by the meter under a power transformer. But when he stood between our fire hut and the power transformer, the reading was 0. So that's pretty incredible. Also, Agnihotra improves water quality. Again, we had this wonderful experience on our Homa farm and center. Initially, we had no water to water our crops, so we had a bore sunk. But that bore well produced water that was highly saline, and the pH of the water was highly alkaline. It would burn the plants if you watered them, and you'd have a salt residue sitting on top of the soil. But by performing Agnihotra by the bore well and regularly adding Agnihotra ash into the bore, the pH came down to neutral, and the salinity dropped. And this has remained the case for several years now. I think it's remained the case for 20 years. We keep putting Agnihotra down the borehole every now and then. Agnihotra and biodiversity. Now, this is an alarming situation that we face in the world. Only 3% of the world's ecosystems are still ecologically intact on our planet. But here's the good news. When you perform Agnihotra, biodiversity returns. Many people all over the world who do Agnihotra report birds, lots of birds coming in that were never coming in, frogs and dragonflies, and all kinds of indications that the environment is healthy. This is a study done along the Narmada River in India, and these columns are stations along the river. The middle column is a station where the homotherapy center is in Maheshwar on the banks of the Holy River. And what was tested in the mud of the river was insects, shrimps, and gastropods, and whatever's mentioned there on the right. And you can see at the homotherapy center where Agnihotra is performed, and occasionally Agnihotra ash is put in the river, the Holy River Narmada, that there's a much greater percentage of insects and biodiversity compared to upriver and downriver. And then also the diversity of butterflies. By the way, the Narmada riverbed by the Homotherapy Center shows higher levels of all five types of invertebrates, up by 42% to 300%. And then butterflies were tested along different stations along the Narmada River. 32 different species of butterflies were counted at these 3 places. But at the Homotherapy Center, they were a higher level by 68% was observed. That's incredible. And then water quality of rivers. You would think, gee, a small amount of ash going into a massive river, how would it make any difference? An Agnihotra being performed, yet tests were done about water quality, and the water quality was best near where the homotherapy center was on Narmada River, compared to upstream and downstream. And even to the extent that the homotherapy center had measurements that fulfilled the standards set by the World Health Organization. So we talked about environment, we talked about the mind, we talked about the body. And now we're going to talk, last but not least, we're going to talk about Agnihotra and growing food, which is incredibly important because our food the food growing is struggling now on our planet due to all forms of pollution. And then there's GMO, etc. But the effects of Homa farming, where we perform Agnihotra sunrise and sunset, basically, and giving Agnihotra ash to all the aspects, the soil, sprinkling it over the soil, putting it in the water to charge up the water that you water the plants with, putting it in your bore, putting it in your dam, the ash, putting it in your organic applications like herbal tea mixes for the land, compost, vermicompost, adding ash to that, adding ash when you're preparing the soil, putting it into the soil, etc. So that's the basis of Homa farming, Agnihotra sunrise, sunset, and the ash application. In full Homa farming, we add Om Trambakam Homa and some other things. But basically, people are getting results from daily Agnihotra sunrise and sunset and the ash application on a regular basis. And in numerous studies, the color, texture, size, taste, and health and abundance of Homa produce has found to be superior. Agnihotra aids photosynthesis. So you can see the same leaves on the left in Agnihotra atmosphere and in plants nearby in non-Agnihotra atmosphere, you can see the massive difference. So it facilitates photosynthesis. This is incredible. So basically, an organic farmer in Indonesia, he was faced with mosaic disease, which is a virus that goes into the genetics of the plants, into the RNA of plants. And this mosaic virus lasts for 50 years, and if you harvest the seeds from an infected plant, you grow an infected plant. The conventional treatment is to burn the crop down and surrounds. So on this farm, mosaic disease, in the RNA of plants was everywhere, including in the surrounding jungle. He was a trained agronomist, and he was very skeptical about Agnihotra, but he was desperate, so he started performing Agnihotra. So what he did was he performed Agnihotra in the growing vicinity, and he sprinkled ash all over the soil, all over the farm regularly, and he put Agnihotra ash down the borehole. So this is what happened after 2 months. After 2 months, the farm was free of mosaic virus. The pH in the soil had changed from highly alkaline, 8, to 6.5, perfect for growing vegetables. And the salinity in the bore water greatly reduced. And this was just Agnihotra, not even homotherapy with the expansion on Agnihotra. So Agnihotra and ash application, and these were the marvelous results. So this is, if you want to take a screenshot, this is the official homotherapy centers, certified homotherapy centers, where you can get the correct equipment and the correct information in the different regions. So I'll just leave that on the screen for a minute in case you can take a screenshot. So that concludes the PowerPoint. And it's now actually Agnihotra time here at our place. So we're going to perform Agnihotra on the screen. And then we're going to, when the fire goes out, we'll open it up to Q&A.
So we're going to prepare for Agnihotra fire for tonight here in Australia. We will take over in a minute. It's about 11 minutes to go. So we've got a pyramid set up here. And we'll start off with adding a piece of cow dung and place it in the bottom of the pyramid like this way. So the bottom of the pyramid needs to be covered. You can break a piece or you can put some crumbs in there, it doesn't matter. And then we're breaking off some pieces of cow dung and lay them diagonally across the corners of the pyramid. I'll show you in a minute. So that's the idea. See, there's a lot of air space down in here and down there. So when there's enough airflow, you get a good hot fire. If you don't leave enough room in between the pieces, then you can't get enough airflow and you often end up with a fire which either doesn't combust properly or you get a lot of smoke. So you must create enough space in between these pieces. Now you can perform Agnihotra inside. We do it here in our office at the moment. Just open up 2 windows if you can. Or you can do it outside. You can do it wherever you want. It's great to do it in nature with trees, as trees are very appreciative of performing Agnihotra. It purifies the whole atmosphere and brings vitality into where you do it. Or a lot of people do it at bodies of water like rivers and lakes and the sea. When you perform Agnihotra there, you can actually take that ash and put it into the water, and that healing effect will spread. So I've broken up a small piece, which I'm going to light and stick in the middle of the stack. So it will ignite the cow dung from down under in the pyramid and let that fire travel up and ignite all the pieces. So we're about 8 minutes away. The only ingredients to use for lighting this Agnihotra fire is dried cow dung and is cow's ghee. So both ingredients are from the cow. You cannot use any other type of oil like olive oil, or sometimes people are vegan and they prefer not to use ghee. You must use cow's ghee. Cannot be from the buffalo. And the reason is that there's an energetic interplay between the shape of the pyramid, the steps, so no rings and holes, the copper, the pure cow's ghee and the cow dung, and rice and mantra and timing. All of these are a crucial aspect and all interplay at that time, that exact time of sunrise or that exact time of sunset. That's the only time you can perform Agnihotra. You can't do it in the middle of the day because it suits you. You just got to work in with nature, you know, the energies of nature. And then you have this most miraculous, wonderful benefit what Lee just shared with you on the PowerPoint presentation. Minimal requirement for doing Agnihotra is that you wash your hands, you rinse your mouth, and if possible, if you bare feet, wash the feet. But at least, if that's not possible, rinse them out, wash the hands, and
Remove the shoes.
remove the shoes. So I've smeared a bit of ghee onto this starter piece, and we're going to light it with a matchstick, or you can light it with a candle, and then light your piece on that candle, and once your starter piece is burning well, then you can just extinguish the candle. As there's still some particles coming off that candle. So, and you want to avoid any kind of other types of smoke. Sometimes people place the pyramid. The pyramid's going to be quite hot. If you got a good hot fire, the whole pyramid will be very intense heat, and that's also towards the bottom. So you can see we have a clay stone paver here, which can easily handle that. But sometimes people put this pyramid on a piece of timber, on a piece of wood. That's not ideal. And the reason is, once you create that much heat, it's going to burn that wood, that timber, and that smoke is actually going to contribute to the Agnihotra process, and that's not what you want. You just want the smoke of cow dung and ghee, nothing else. So we do not add camphor, for instance, to start the fire. You want to do it? Or huh?
You do.
Okay. We're just discussing here who is going to do the fire here tonight. Okay, so I have a small copper dish here, and I'm going to put some rice grains in there. This it needs to be unboiled, uncooked rice, just whole grain rice. Ideally not black rice, just whole grain rice. You can just get it from the supermarket or places like that. I'm now removing the broken pieces from this rice, as what we offer into the fire needs to be whole and complete. You can imagine an auric field, like an egg shape. The rice is like an egg shape. That auric field is complete. When it's broken, it's not. It's wounded. So we want to offer to the fire that what is whole and complete. Akshat. So we're about 3 minutes away. I'm going to light this starter piece, and I'm lighted outside of the pyramid. The reason why I light it outside of the pyramid is that there's an interaction, there's the flame of the matchstick. And if you look, that matchstick is treated with some chemicals, which you don't want to drop or get into the pyramid. So the ghee is melting onto the matchstick, and then that dribbles off there. It would go into the pyramid, which is not what you want. You just want to avoid any kind of chemical interference, or at least as much as possible. So we're about 2.5 minutes away. I'm taking some ghee here with some melt. Over the flame. This is cow dung for our cows here at our Homa farm. One is a Brahman cow, a Desai cow. The other one is a Jersey. It doesn't matter what kind of cow dung you use for Agnihotra. I mean, if you have access to Brahman cows, fantastic. But if not, let it not stop you performing Agnihotra because you can't get Desai cow dung. I've added a small amount of ghee to this rice, and I'm going to divide that rice into 2 portions, as there's 2 offerings in the Agnihotra mantra. So this is sunset Agnihotra. Direction you can sit in is ideally east-west, as the healing energy is strongest on the eastern side of the pyramid at sunrise. So east is right behind me. I'm just gonna face the pyramid. And I'm preparing to say the mantra. You hear 2 swahas in there, and you make the offering straight after the word swaha is spoken. About 10 seconds. Agnaye swaha, Agnaye idanna mama, Pajapataye swaha, Pajapataye idanna mama.
So if you have questions, could you raise your hand and we can ask you to unmute.
Bring this one.
Sorry, here I am.
Many people don't have their cameras on, so maybe they can also write it. Yes, someone's just written.
Okay.
How can I connect to a Homa center in Bangalore or any other place close to my location? I think that it might be best to ask that question in the Agnihotra community in one of the groups, either the Bengaluru group or the India group or the Buddy technical group.
There are many people in Bangalore performing Agnihotra, but as far as I know, we do not have a specific center there. But still many people, and it would be nice if these people would connect with each other.
There's a question here. Once the Homa fire is extinguished, can I move the copper kund aside, or should it stay in the same place? Ideally, it's best to leave the copper kund in the same place until the next Agnihotra. There's a connection between the pyramid and the sun throughout the day. So if the pyramid is not moved. But of course, some people live in small apartments, and it may not be possible to leave the pyramid where they did Agnihotra because of movement of people around the place. And in that case, it's best to move the pyramid out of the way so it doesn't get knocked over or be in the way. So there's an ideal situation, and then you do what's possible in your living conditions.
There's somebody asking here, should we wash the pyramid? After you use it, you start off with a nice shiny copper pyramid and then it turns black. No, you want to leave that coating there. You don't interfere with it. It's the coating actually, if you allow it to be there, it allows the next Agnihotra to be more powerful, but basically it imbues the whole pyramid. The pyramid is like a fine tuning device, you could say. It's an instrument, so any interference we should not do to the pyramid, meaning don't bang it and knock it and get dents in it. Try and handle it with care like a baby, as it is it's a tuning device for these subtle energies and to broadcast this back in the atmosphere. So we generally advise people, once you get your new pyramid, just wash it once with some mild soap. There might be some residual oils there from the pressing process. Wash that out with some mild soap, warm water, let it dry, and that's all you have to do before you start Agnihotra.
May I add one thing?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you
You go.
finished. Frits, go
You go.
See, water cleanses not only on a physical level, but also on a subtle level. And with Agnihotra, some subtle energy is building up in the pyramid. So if we wash the pyramid with water, even with clear water without soap, this subtle energy, which is locked up in the pyramid, is washed away. So we would reduce the effect of Agnihotra, which is the energy which is building up throughout the years. We would just wash that away, and that's a pity. And on the other side, if some crust is building up at the wall of the pyramid, it's very easy. Just prepare one big fire, and then this crust will be burned away. So that is an easy thing.
Okay. Just looking at
There is a question here. I don't know who would like to answer it. Is there a website to know further details and how to perform Agnihotra? And is it compulsory to perform both time morning and both time, or is morning enough? In other words, can you just do it once a day? Who would like to answer that?
Whereabouts does the person live?
I don't see, but the name is Aravind, so I'm guessing India.
Right, so perhaps we would recommend they go to Savajit's website. I think I showed that on the slide. Does anybody know that off the top of their head? Can write it down.
Yes, it's
Agnihotra Live.
agnihotralife.com.
You want to write that down?
I'll write it down here now. Yeah.
And yes, if you can only perform sunrise Agnihotra, then do so. It's ideal to perform sunrise and sunset. Maybe perhaps on the weekend you can perform both. But no problem if you can only perform on an irregular basis. You just do it as much as you can and you'll get these beautiful benefits. By doing it regularly, you build a biosphere that stays intact. There's like a protection, an energy field of protection and many other things, just a healthy biosphere. If you do it irregularly, that biosphere may dissipate until you perform the Agnihotra next time. But each time you perform Agnihotra, this beautiful energy comes in, benefiting everything in your area. And then you have the resultant ash as well.
Wonderful. And we have another question from Neha in Brisbane. Can we use red rice unpolished or any local unpolished rice also? Also, when we want to empty the pyramid, do we lift the pyramid and put the ash in a jar, or do we scoop out the ash from the pyramid and put it in a glass jar? Thank you.
I understand that you cannot use wild rice because it's not actually true rice. That's what I've been told anyway. I don't know if Ulrich or Rory can verify that. So I wouldn't use red or black rice. I would use brown rice. As far as emptying the pyramid, it's good if you just pick it up with your right hand and empty it. If it doesn't all come out, I guess no problem putting it in your left hand and gently scraping it out like that. But you don't scrape it out with a spoon. You'd scratch the pyramid, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And best
I'm
to
not
put
sure.
the pyramid back in the same position, so that always the same side of the pyramid faces east, for example.
Yeah.
I'm a bit unsure because I think red rice in India, red rice, it looks like normal proper rice. So there may be a different kind of red rice that's called red rice in Australia, but I think in India it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's just got a slightly red patina, but it is proper rice.
Somebody asked, can I place the ash in a mud pot? Yes, that's fine. As long as it's not glazed, for example. But yeah, a mud pot would be a good place to store the ash.
Someone also asked, can I know when to start the very first time? Sunrise or sunset? I'm starting newly this week.
You always start with sunset at any new location.
There's another question about washing the pyramid. I think that's been answered already, and there's a written answer in the chat. So please go back to that and read that. But no, we do not wash the pyramid.
Somebody's saying, do we need to store the Agnihotra ash in a copper box? When I do Agnihotra each day, I get a lot of ash. Then I would need a really big box. Well, the thing is, store the ash in something natural like glass or ceramic or copper, but never stainless steel, never plastic. And then if give the ash to friends to use on their land, sprinkle the ash around under trees, take it as medicine rather than we never have enough ash because we're always using it to benefit nature and to benefit our friends. If you know an Agnihotra farm or a place where they're growing food, they always need lots of ash. So if you have excess ash, you could offer it to them. But of course, storing ash is also wonderful because it's a panacea. It can be used. It never loses its healing capacity. So whenever it's needed, you've got some at hand.
Here's a question. If we do Agnihotra inside the home, which place or which room would be perfect? I didn't hear answered it already. I don't know if it's been answered already, but if you have in your home a meditation room, then I think do it in there because Agnihotra really enhances that meditative type energy. It brings peace to the mind. It helps to open the heart. So it's wonderful for meditation. Also, when you sit around the Agnihotra fire, like we sit here tonight, the smoke is extremely medicinal. So you can actually breathe in that smoke. And it helps, it goes directly into the bloodstream and it helps to purify the system from the inside out. So there's great benefit there. Other than if you do not have a meditation room in your house, do it wherever you feel the need is greatest. Sometimes, you know, there's a sick child. Do it in that bedroom because it deals with the bacteria in that room and it creates a healing environment. Maybe you find some room in the house which needs some cleansing or healing, just do it there. You know, just it doesn't have to be in a fixed place. If you can do it in a fixed place, then that energy in that particular place accumulates. So there's a choice there.
For example, if you're a therapist of any sort, then doing it in the therapy room is a great assistance. Sorry, there's a great assistance to both the therapist and the people who come in for healing because their energy is highly charged with healing energy in the healing room. It's important to do Agnihotra in a clean space, that's all. So whatever room you do it in, let that be clean. And of course, if it will smoke the walls. So if you want to avoid that, then many people do it outside on their veranda, for example.
Okay.
Dr. Ulrich Berg, can you please unmute me? Oh, he's unmuted.
Yeah. I have two comments. You know, you showed this table of the air pollution,
Yes.
and there was SOx and NOx.
Yes, please
SOx
clarify.
are oxides of sulfur, as you said, and NOx are just oxides of nitrogen.
Okay.
So, and then the other thing was particulate matter, you know, different sizes. Some are very small, so they go through your lungs and they cross the barrier to the blood stream. So they are more dangerous, the smaller ones.
That's the RSA, is it? The RS.
Yeah.
PM, yeah.
respiratory, whatever.
Mm.
And one thing you said, Fritz, you said timber is not good to have under the pyramid. I used it a lot because yes, the first time there's some smoke from the wood, which burns a little bit, but then you have a coat of charcoal and nothing happens anymore. So I used that a lot when traveling because that was the easiest way to protect, for example, floors in a hotel room because it insulates. This copper stand, too much heat would go to the floor or to a table.
Yes, thank you. That's very true. And carrying a brick is too heavy. But carrying a block
Yes.
is much lighter. Yes. So as well
And
as far as
use hardwood.
is already been done, the Agnihotra, and so it's now charcoal and not going to produce smoke.
Yeah. And use hardwood
Hardwood, okay.
better. Oak or beech, that's better.
There's another question. I had a question about the source for the depression and anxiety study. Do you know about that source? You know that graph?
That study was done in Moscow several years ago. And the doctor who did the study, he used a questionnaire for determining depression and anxiety levels. There was another study done in Chile, Santiago de Chile, at one medical university, and they measured stress by checking the saliva for cortisol. Cortisol is an indicator for stress. And that study was very powerful because it showed that Agnihotra works even if the people do not know that Agnihotra is being done because they were sitting in the next room. So it was a blind experiment. That was quite good. And the doctor in Moscow, he did another very interesting experiment with the EEG and showed that the brain waves, which are normally more in the beta range, beta means activity and also stress, they go down from beta and alpha is increasing. Alpha means more calm, more stressless situation. So that was also a very interesting study.
Wonderful.
The same person is asking if maybe you have some links to these studies or some PDFs. It's from the Sarvam Foundation. Neha here from Brisbane. So Neha from the Sarvam Foundation, I understand, which is based in Brisbane. Do you know them, Leon Fritz?
Yes.
Yes, we know Neha, yes.
Yeah.
But the links to the studies, I don't know. Do you have them, Ulrich?
These studies have not been published yet. I mean, the Santiago de Chile study about stress reduction. I talked to these people a lot, but they did not finalize the study, and I can't publish their findings because it is their findings. I could send the results privately, but it is not available publicly yet.
If you could send them privately to us, and we can forward them on to Neha.
Or we can send the graphs as was shown on the PowerPoints.
Or we can do that as well. but Neha's particularly interested because she's a psychologist.
Okay.
Then also sent her the Baltimore study. That was published.
The
And that was
Baltimore.
quite good also.
Which one is that? The
Have
Baltimore.
that? The Baltimore study on depression and anxiety.
Oh, that one. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I only had the graph, but I don't have the details that it was a Baltimore study or who did it, etc.
Yeah, it was mainly Henry Gregory and
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know. I'll contact them.
no, I can't send you the study. That has been published. I can send it to you.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, well, I think that's
So is there any other questions that we need to read out and answer that Rory's aware of?
No, I don't see any other questions. And we're reaching the 2-hour mark now. We've reached it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it then. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending. And thank you, Ulrich. Thank you, Rory, for your help, invaluable help. And as I said, we'll do these workshops again, maybe every 2 months by different homotherapy teachers. So we'll advertise it on the Agnihotra Body groups and on Facebook and in our own groups. And please tell other people, because even if you don't know anything about Agnihotra, these workshops on Zoom introduce the basics and all the wonderful effects. So they're inspiring, and they also help people to access the right information and the right equipment so they can get the right result, get the optimum results. So if Rory would like to say anything, or Dr. Ulrich Berg, then we can conclude.
No, just thanks, Lee and Frits, for doing that. It was very detailed, very good. And yeah, for most of people, it was repetition, but you know, often some details people don't know, people are not aware of it, or people are forgetting. That helps a lot. So thank you for doing it, and yeah, good that we do that in regular. Maybe 2 months is good, and and also it will be different speakers, so you get a different aspect each time. So that's also good.
Yes. And Rory?
I mean, I just like to say thank you so much. I just like to say thank you so much. It was a wonderful presentation, and I really enjoy hearing presentations from other experienced and long-term Agnihotra practitioners and homotherapy practitioners. You guys in Australia have done such wonderful work there, and you have amazing stories. I know you can't share them all in this presentation, but you have practical experience of how Agnihotra has helped farmers and individuals. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Pleasure.
Okay. So bye, everyone.
Okay. For us, good night.
And maybe for you, good morning.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.